This episode of the Coarse podcast has been brought to you by Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, family-owned and operated screen printing and embroidery business located in a historic storefront on Old Berwick Road in the heart of Espy. They've been doing screen printing for over 20 years. They have high-quality product at a low price. Be sure to check them out. Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, 570-784-1212. Now, on to the show.
Hi, this is Chef John Tezar from Top Chef and Knife in Dallas, Texas. You're listening to the Coarse Grind Podcast with Shawn Rosler.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Episode number 193 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. Can you believe it? I can't count that high. With you as always, host, creator, Shawn Rosler. How is everyone doing this fine, beautiful, lovely day? Not to turn things serious as far as the intro goes a little bit, but you know what? I'm going to level with you. Returning home after a great loss can instill in you an appreciation for not just the home you grew up in and those very small scope surroundings, but you begin to appreciate the town, the region itself, for all it has and has always had, despite you being young and impatient in 1995, to offer you. Doing so, even in the face of said negative event, makes you very grateful for friends old and friends new. And among those friends, I've had the honor to reconnect with, not to mention reschedule with, one in particular who is here with me today. And here's a refresher, if you missed him the first time, with motivations including good coffee, great chocolate, his family, and empowered communities. Today's guest moved to Cameroon in 2007 and has been working on international business development ever since. His passion for social entrepreneurship led him to establish humanitarian projects in West Africa, North India, Central Mexico, and eventually to co-founding a cacao and tropical fruit farm in Cameroon, along with the Bean to Bar chocolate factory in, you guessed it kids, Honesdale, PA. Yes, you read that. Well, I read it. You heard it correctly. Our guest currently serves as Managing Director for the Himalayan Institute Cameroon and CEO of MOKA Origins, where he manages supply chain, marketing, and brand strategy, while also overseeing reciprocity and impact at Origin. As if that wasn't enough, he also serves as the President of the Himalayan Institute Humanitarian and is a board member on the FedEx Entrepreneur Advisory Board. He's been doing amazing things since a little more than 50 episodes ago, and admittedly, I've been a little too wrapped up in my own scene to focus on these things, on these new and exciting things, but that's going to stop today. Cutting to the man of the hour, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, the CEO and co-founder of MOKA Origins, located in my dear Honesdale, PA, humanitarian, chocolatier, and someone I'm proud to call friend, the Jeff Abella. Jeff, how are you, sir?
Hey, Shawn, I'm doing great.
Excellent.
Thanks for the intro.
Always, always, always so appreciated. So great to come home. I know, people following this story. Yours was one of the first, podcast faces I saw when I went back to take care of things with my dad. And, honestly, I think running into some other folks who've done the show before, we'll keep them nameless because they're going to come back too. It really kind of helped get wheels back under me. So in the eye of the public, I want to thank you for just being that presence, being that rooting presence that reminded me, Honesdale is about more than just one house. Honesdale is about the vibe, the feel, the energy completely.
Yeah, it really is. It's about that community. And Shawn, seeing you, in those moments, it was kind of felt good to connect at a time when friends needed it most as well. Yeah. So I'm glad we're back together here.
100%, man. And not to mention an old high school buddy I haven't seen since 95. So hi, Bart, if you're listening. So, without further ado, let's just jump right down into it. Folks new to the program, folks with terrible short-term memories like yours truly. Starters, mains, and afters. Starters, we're going to talk about the guest's origin story, if you will, just like in comic books, where they came from, how they got here. Listen, you can go back and you can listen to the long form in 149. I want to get to the mains, where the guest is currently at, what they're doing, where they get inspiration from. There's a lot of exciting stuff that wasn't happening in episode 149 that is happening as of episode 193, and I want to dig into it. And finally, afters, a little bit more goofy, a little bit more irreverent, a little bit off the cuff. And we'll touch back into those. So without further ado, Jeff, let's bring everybody up to speed, maybe in a Cliff Notes format. Tell me about where and what Jeff Abella grew up eating.
Oh gosh, well, I was born in the Midwest, so a lot of cheese.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking Wisconsin too, so like, dairy country, a lot of corn, the meat and potatoes kind of stuff, and I have not lost my addiction to cheese, but have layered on addictions to chocolate and coffee.
I mean, I think that's going to be the next thing. I just want to throw that out there in case it gets copyrighted. I want in on this. MOKA cheese.
You heard it here first.
MOKA cheese. You heard it here. So yeah, with that Midwest flair, cheese corn and all that,
Yep.
It's certainly a bit of a jump, but let's talk a little more. Obviously, as a young one, were you a picky eater, or were you kind of like put anything in front of me, eat it up?
I was a picky eater, and I didn't know it then, but I know it I was now looking back.
Yeah.
And, I thank my wife for the culinary experiences I now indulge in, and I look back and I'm like, what was I missing out on? A lot. So I was a picky eater, and but now I love diverse cultures in terms of travel and experiences, as well as culinarily speaking. So
yeah, I mean, that's clearly the understatement of the century, and we'll get into all, Jeff Abella, man of the world, here in a minute. When you think back to that Midwest kind of culinary upbringing, are there foods or dishes that you miss the most, that you think back and you get that kind of nostalgic pang?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, like my mom would make this chicken pot pie.
Nice.
That was, and I'm actually vegetarian now, so I can't even when I go home, I don't even get to taste this again. But
Right.
definitely like anchored my childhood, and food is one of those things, like those experiences live with you, and so when you think of your childhood or your past experiences, like a lot of it culturally like revolves around experiences with food. And I definitely remember that one. A few other things was a lot of Mexican food as well, even in the Midwest, and that kind of got even more so part of my family's culture when we started working in central Mexico a few years ago. So yeah, I think my mom would be proud to know that I've expanded my horizons.
Expanded your horizons.
Yeah.
Now I have to ask, with a Pennsylvania Dutch wife, you say chicken pot pie. Describe that dish to me.
All right, so it's got the crust on all.
Okay,
it's a
you
pie,
can stop.
right?
You can stop right there. You can stop right there,
Oh.
Greta. If you're listening, see, that is chicken pot pie. It's not a soup. It's not a soup. It's not a soup. I told you. Yes.
Wow.
It has
I'm
a
gonna have to look
crust.
this up.
You're bringing up marital strife. It has literally.
Yeah, I don't want to get in the middle of this, but I do need to know more. So that's an offline. We'll fill in the gaps in a minute. Yeah.
I was literally hoping for you to lead with, it has a crust. Put a period after that. We're done. We're good. So you have this cool kind of culinary upbringing, and it's obviously it's the Midwest version of it, but it's its own flavor. You obviously took this and like blew it up crazy with the chocolate, with the coffee. When was the moment that like Jeff Abella, Midwest guy, said, here's what I want to do? Food is more than just like, consume, digest, move on.
Yeah. The moment was we were in Cameroon, West Africa. So we had started working for a not-for-profit. This was about 15 years ago already. And doing nothing related to food or agriculture at that startup moment. But a few years later, it evolved to working directly with a lot of farmers, all kinds of farmers, not just cocoa and coffee farmers. But I remember this one moment where we started to we were actually hiring coffee farmers to grow other, actually herbs that our laboratory project was turning into medicine, right? And it was like, why are coffee farmers so eager for a more diverse range of crops to grow? And then it clicked. And the first-hand feedback was that because it's going to complement or be substitutional income for what we don't earn on coffee, and that coffee as a single crop is not sustainable. So we started asking all these questions and kind of got really connected to this idea that agriculture has so much potential to increase livelihood and ultimately create jobs. But I remember this first meeting, after we started really focusing in on cocoa and coffee as a potential crop for a product that we would launch. And I gave myself like a 5-year window of time to like figure this out. But we were in this co-op. We were in this village in the southwest region of Cameroon, in this beautiful, beautiful village. And I remember sitting down with this group of cocoa cooperative members. They were cocoa farmers. And all of them were between 40 and 80 years old. And, I go in, I'm eager to change the world, super young, very naive, excited about cocoa because it has something to do with chocolate. And that's kind of all I knew. Right. Wow, now I realize what I didn't know. And I remember sitting down and talking to this group and this farmer. Her name was Ma Lucy. And the story she told about cocoa had nothing to do with chocolate. It had very little to do with like cocoa as an ingredient for chocolate. It had to do with the importance that this crop, this tree that for generations has been cultivated on their ancestral land, and the importance that that crop brings to not only her, but her family and her whole compound and village. And that cocoa was the kind of lifeline for all their economic needs, food on the table, children in school, health bills, everything. And then we tasted chocolate together, and we kind of filled in that gap in terms of high quality cocoa can equal high quality chocolate that can demand a higher price and ultimately earn farmers more if the supply chain is structured to compensate them fairly. But it was in that moment that I realized the disconnect between cocoa and chocolate is so great that like the farmers aren't eating chocolate. They're not making chocolate. They're not participating in the value addition, the profit adding steps of cocoa. And chocolate makers or chocolate consumers don't even know what chocolate is made out of. And I walked in that meeting very unclear on how do you go from a bean to a bar, and what's underneath that bean in terms of economic importance. So Ma Lucy, over the course of an hour, shared her life story and how cocoa is a material that really sustains life.
I mean, she shared her story, and to me, it sounds like she changed her life with that 1 hour.
That was the moment.
That was the moment. That was it. And fast forward, you say that bean to bar, and I'm having flashbacks to 149 about how, we kind of dissected what fair trade is and what it isn't, and all the different terms. But, immediately I think of that bean to bar, and I immediately, and, you're vegetarian now, so I'll tread lightly, but like people are the same way with meat. In any variety. It's like people have lost knowledge of where things come from. And so, folks, if you're in and around Honesdale and you happen out to MOKA Origins out at 952 Bethany Turnpike in Honesdale, like one of the first things you get isn't chocolate, isn't coffee, it's an education. I think one of the things I love most about what you've done out there, Jeff, is that it feels like a museum to a degree. It really does. Like you walk in and my boys were just like, well, wait a minute. And, not to say that they're thinking that like chocolate bars grow on trees, but there was so much to consume, both literally and figuratively, when you walked in. And I think one of the other things I love the most is that everything you do has pictures, has faces, and you get to know these people. And it's the humanization of it all, is amazing. So to give these folks a fair shake in life by growing higher quality chocolate, ergo producing higher quality chocolate, ergo asking, more in return. Because as the industry was, and helped me to re-understand, like this industry is not made for them to benefit, to survive almost.
No, chocolate depends on low cost beans. And unfortunately, that produces low quality, low cost chocolate, but the farmers are paying the price for that low-cost chocolate.
Yep. That's amazing.
But it relies on that to keep the price driving lower and lower. Sure. And,
so, you go in and you get, bar X, we won't even name brands here because we don't want to throw anybody under the bus per se, for $1.50, or you go out, to MOKA and you buy one for, $6-7, you will taste the difference. I assure you of this. It's kind of like a does statement to me. But again, if folks are new to really higher end chocolate, I think, again, what you're doing out there is an education process. So the conversation with Ma changes your life. Fast forward past 149 to today, Jeff Abella. Obviously, MOKA Origins is out there on the Turnpike, and obviously, like right after, I know we were in touch about, this store, that kind of thing. Give us the update. And I honestly, I was so excited last night writing this. I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to catch up and understand everything, because I catch it on social. If you're out on Facebook, Insta, be sure to check out MOKA Origins. Incredible stuff going on. But what has been happening, both storefronts, products? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so we've been really working hard since 149, wow, and here we are almost 50 episodes later. So a good amount of time has gone by, but not that much.
Not that much, about 2 years, give or take.
About 2 years, yeah. So what a great moment for an update, because, well, let's face it, a lot has happened in the world in 2 years, in the last 2 years especially. So it's been a push. I mean, 2 years ago we were a startup. I still consider us a startup. We're kind of straddling that scale-up mode here.
Yep.
And then we had a pandemic in between then and now. But one thing we had always really put a lot of emphasis on is diversifying our sales channels and doing so that we had stability. And we could also express like the different desires that MOKA wants to achieve. So craft coffee, bean to bar chocolate, two very different products, with very different kind of sales channels and strategies. But that diversification has really helped over the last 2 years. And then like the different market channels we're in. So, grocery versus cafes versus online versus our factory store. And I've had a lot of chats with entrepreneurs, especially in the food packaged food space. And it's like, how do you get over these like turbulent bumps and bruises? And I think diversity is key. So we put a lot of emphasis into that over the last 2 years, which has really helped to kind of sustain our growth. It's not easy. You're doing a lot of things all at once, and you're thinking about your different strategies and product directions and positioning. But we kind of embrace this idea that that's a creative process, and we're enjoying that, and that keeps us from like losing our heads. But it's been pretty intense. We started working closer with some tier one grocery stores, some chains. So Whole Foods Market came online about 12 months ago. Has been one of our bigger partners on the East Coast, and that's been a really great just way to get our product into more hands. And then have started to look at other grocery stores that are kind of in line with this idea of organic food, sustainable sourcing, and ethical business practices or supply chain. And so we're in about 350 stores between here and the West Coast, and most of that is direct to these stores. Kind of an announcement though that we haven't really made on social, so you're hearing it here.
Here we
first,
go, breaking news.
Yep, is our first distribution on the West Coast. Wow. With a proper distributor who's helped be our logistical supply chain partner and place us in some really great accounts in California and Southern California. So I'll be out there in about a month. We'll do some content live from there to kind of announce who those what spread of stores we're talking about.
Yeah.
But distribution has been a big consideration of ours for years. Never really made sense. It finally did, and we took that opportunity over the last 12 months, which has really helped.
Yeah. And so, I mean, so glad to hear that is obviously beyond succeeding, because so much has been wrapped up in a very brutalized, damaged supply chain system these past 2 years. Interestingly enough, talk to me specifically about like the chocolate and the coffee, because I know there's been some products that have been added to the catalog, and I'm gonna forewarn you, I'm about 14 hours fasting right now. So if you hear me groaning, take no offense. Go on.
I should have sent you a package to break that fast. I'll follow up with it, though.
Go on.
We've had so much fun. So we do a monthly chocolate bar and bag of coffee just for our subscribers. But what that's given us is a chance to every single month, like, have this creative process of trying something new that we think has potential, sometimes failing, sometimes hitting a home run, and then if it's really good, bringing that into our main line of chocolate, or coffee. So a few things that we've rolled out recently, on the chocolate side, our Mexican hot chocolate bar has been really fun. It's a milk chocolate base, which is a 58% dark chocolate still. So it's a milk chocolate, but it's 58% cocoa. So still pretty kind of dark and fudgy, if you will. And then it has cayenne pepper, cinnamon, and vanilla. And this was a really kind of meaningful project for Chelsea and I, for my wife and I. We had been working in central Mexico for a number of years prior to launching MOKA, and had a lot of, many culinary experiences using cacao, cinnamon, and vanilla and spices. So this bar to me kind of embodies those nostalgic, flavors and experiences that we had.
That's fantastic.
And that's been a fun bar. Another one we rolled out was our vanilla white chocolate bar. So it's a white chocolate, which is highly controversial. So we can talk about this if you want. Is white chocolate really chocolate, right?
Yep.
Well, we make a white chocolate bar made with cocoa butter that actually comes from cocoa pods.
Okay.
And so, no, we truly believe that this bar and any white chocolate bar that's really using cocoa butter versus the other kind of oils that other chocolate makers use, or, like palm oil is a big one, right?
Yep.
No, that probably cannot be classified as chocolate because it doesn't originate from cocoa. But this one does, and we fell in love with this idea of kind of giving into our inner child and doing a high-quality white chocolate bar. And we were in Uganda not too long ago where we sourced cocoa, and we ended up on this beautiful vanilla farm. And it was amazing. So before we even got to it was a processing facility where all the farmers were bringing their vanilla, and it's a really cool B Corp, not-for-profit organization. And as you were approaching, we were several hundred yards away, and the aroma was just intoxicating. This fresh vanilla fragrance throughout this whole village. And we ended up visiting them, really falling in love with the biodiversity and the different models of kind of the way they work with farmers and their food systems that they've created. We ended up partnering with them right there on the spot, and are now bringing in their vanilla bean direct from the farm in Uganda, and that's what we infuse the white chocolate. So if you get a chance to try it, it's a vanilla infused white chocolate bar, and we're actually putting that into Whole Foods in October through the winter months, so more people can try it.
I love it. Yeah, creamy white chocolate made with direct trade vanilla beans and organic whole milk. And again, I think it's probably safe to say that, the vanilla bean, as with your cacao pods, you get high quality chocolate. And I would agree. You know what? I was coming in pretty locked and loaded. White chocolate's not chocolate, but based on your explanation, sir, yours may very well be the only white chocolate, I believe, truly to qualify as chocolate. How about the coffee line, Jeff?
Yeah, coffee's been a fun one too to innovate. We rolled out a blend called the Pocono Mountain Blend, and you hear me talk about single origins, and that's where I get really excited. So to lead with blends is a little, unusual for me, but the reason I'm excited about it, it's made with some really great single origin coffees that we've worked hard to blend together to create this kind of locally themed, what I kind of consider like a campfire-y blend. It's a little bit of a darker roast, kind of smoky, but not burnt, has nice body and sweetness from the beans that we've chosen. So one of our local blends that you see around in a lot of shops and a lot of cafes and restaurants in the region is our Pocono Mountain Blend. But even, I think, more innovative is our cold brew coffee. So we started brewing small batches of cold brew like day one. This was like 2016 in my shed. Like this couldn't be, like experimental brew, almost like bathtub brew style. And then we, we evolved that to like stainless steel in-house brewing. And the flavor was great. We work with a bean there that really brews a caramely, almost chocolate flavor characteristic, and just fell in love with high quality cold brew. Finally, we found a partner to help us brew this in in proper volume and can it for us. So our cold brew ready to drink cans are in stores throughout northeastern PA, or you can always find them in our shop as well. But that's been a fun one.
Absolutely. Yeah. Not just the Pocono Mountain Blend. I know for certain we've had the house blend. We've had, I want to say the Cameroon, the Mount Oku region. But now I see like Mexico, Washasa, Uganda, Bokanzo. I mean, just crazy. So like, kids, if you're looking for, blueberry infused, like, nah, this isn't going to be your stop. But I mean, as far as quality, amazing coffee goes, this is definitely something you're going to want to check out. And the cold brew too. My wife just got turned on to cold brew, so this may be the gateway. We might finally get her through to that cold brew approach.
Nice. Set her up with that. Or bring her in for a nitro, and her and I can argue over pot pies while we have some cold brew nitro.
She does. She loves the nitro too. Like just in general with a stout, like that's her go-to. So that's going to be awesome. And are you have the cold brew in cans now, correct?
We do. Yep. Yeah. So those are the cans I was talking about. The cold brew cans that can be found all around.
Sweet. Yep. Oh my God. Awesome. So you have all this going on. You're expanding the West Coast action, which I can't wait to hear more about. Trends in the coffee chocolate business. I imagine they come and go. Can you give the lay people here kind of something that's maybe on the horizon for chocolate and or coffee? Like what's something we should be looking at as a trend coming down the pike? Like for example, for dining out, for a while it was farm to table. Now farm to table's kind of taken a backseat into fast casual thanks to COVID. Is there a similar trend coming down the pike for chocolate and or coffee?
Yeah, totally. I mean, coffee's already kind of in this like third wave culture space where, light roasts focused on origin and terroir and profiles that are probably less familiar to or less interesting to like our parents that were drinking Maxwell House and Folgers who, then like Starbucks came around and kind of burned everything. And then now there's like this whole other wave. So coffee's already in this great place in terms of local roasters, right?
Yep.
Who are buying smaller batches, focusing on smaller roast batches. I love it. Like my wife and I, we travel all around, and whenever we're out, we look for a local roaster. We don't even need to and the beans might be the same as some of the other bigger roasters, but just the fact that they're taking care of smaller batches, kind of focusing and dialing in on their roast profile to give it their own kind of like flavor brand flavor, is really fun. So small batch coffee, supporting your local businesses is really important. And I think that's where I think that trend is here to stay for a while.
Love that.
And in terms of chocolate is having this explosive kind of craft movement, but and over the last 3 years it has seen this bean to bar craft chocolate movement. So what you're now seeing, we're all starting to notice it, but people that didn't notice the craft chocolate makers or space, if they don't follow like maybe food culture that closely, won't realize where it's coming from. But you're going to start seeing bigger brands, and I mean like the top four that we could you're already thinking of, and then maybe the other dozen well-known brands start to position around some of the same things that the craft chocolate makers are not branding around, just being true to in terms of their production. That's sustainable. Or that's transparent sourcing, using phrases like bean to bar chocolate, craft chocolate. A lot of definitions, though, that are really loose. They're not clearly defined. So, like, when I say, and the tough thing there is you see a massive brand saying transparent supply chain. And to me, I'm always like, it's not really about, transparency is important because you can see what's happening, but that's not actually the point. I mean, what good is, like, the point is liking what you're seeing and actually having a ethical supply chain. Seeing it is just part of it. Actually owning it and honoring a ethical supply chain is another part. And so when I'm starting to see more of this on the shelves, like the bigger companies companies start to position around a small batch, and it's kind of disappointing. In terms of they're not using any different practices in terms of their chocolate making. Their ingredients aren't any cleaner, higher quality, and their relationships at origin with their farming partners aren't designed to positively impact all.
No.
And
it's that parallel to where like Ruby Tuesdays starts calling themselves Farm to Table because they got their salad bar from a farm. Well, of course you got it from a farm. That makes total sense. That's not what Farm to Table is truly about. And I almost like, as soon as you said the bigs were trying to embrace that, like there was this like feeling in the pit of my stomach, like, oh God, this. And so everyone's going to be touting, I'm eating bean to bar chocolate, but you're really not. You're eating like a portion of that. But, at the end of the day, all of it's technically bean to bar. But what like you and your folks are doing, Jeff, that's really, I think, what's at the core, or as I understand it, what's at the core of bean to bar.
It is. And the other thing with bean to bar chocolate, it usually means one maker who's buying the beans and making the bars. You'd be surprised. Some of those the bigger companies aren't actually making their own chocolate. So it's a lot of consolidation. Several massive makers producing chocolate for other brands who are branding around like that fine flavored chocolate or high quality chocolate. And then what I think is more disappointing around that though is that like those are the businesses that have the financial capacity and the leverage to do a lot of good. And whereas us like small makers, there's about 200 of us in the United States doing small batch chocolate. Like we started for the right reasons, high quality and farm and trade ethics. But we're also disadvantaged. Like we don't have the marketing leverage. We don't have the financial capacity, but we're paying more for beans. Often just because that's the nature of a small batch supply chain. But if those big companies like turned up their compensation a few percent, like the volume of good would be significant. So I'm actually not about like tearing down the big guys. It's just would love to see more of them use their scale as an opportunity to do some incredible good because they really are like positioned perfectly to do that.
Go all Spider-Man, man. With great power comes great responsibility.
Stability, yep. That's exactly it. Yep.
That's it, man. So, I mean, you're in literally such an awesome place right now, but I know you at least to the degree that I know you probably have some kind of 3, 5, 7, 10 year plan going on. What's next for MOKA?
All right, so a few things since you know me too well, and you're peeling back the onion a little bit.
Pulling the curtain back. Pulling the curtain back.
A few things. So, as we do a lot of travel, we're always overseas doing sourcing or looking into the details with our farming partners, our supply chain partners. We really fell in love with this idea of people could join us for these experiences. And just like I had when I met Ma Lucy back in like 2010, and while in a place that just completely opened up my mind's awareness to the world and culture, what if we could bring people with us on these origin trips when we source? So we started a series of origin adventure trips. We launched one to Dominican Republic, then one to Uganda not too many months ago, and upcoming here to Costa Rica, where people join us overseas to meet our farming partners, actually do work on the farms, understand cocoa and coffee, the whole supply chain, and all the work that goes into producing high quality beans. While we're there, of course, they're having amazing adventures, whether that's whitewater rafting on the Nile or ziplining through the forest or big game safaris, all kind of built around this eco travel, sustainable, low footprint travel. So origin adventure trips are something that we've put a lot of focus in to over the last 24 months, and we'll be leading 2 to Costa Rica in mid 2023, and Uganda and Tanzania and beyond in 2024. So look for those.
Incredible.
Yeah, those are definitely ways to engage in the brand at kind of a deeper level. And then just education in general. You brought it up about when you walk into our space. Yeah. And I love these moments when people come in, they're coming into the roastery, They're going to get a cup of coffee, and for some, that's like maybe it. That's what they want, and that's available for them. But while they're in the space, it could be kind of self-guided, or they could take a minute with one of our tasting room professionals to learn a little bit more about flavor, or learn a little bit more about our sourcing, or where our proceeds go and what we're supporting. But we took that a step further this year, and we put together it's a chocolate camp. We called it our chocolate classroom. Mm-hmm. And this year we piloted it. We had about 1,000 students in throughout the summer. And this is a really fun day-long program for families and kids to come in, participate in Cocoa 101, we call it, which is harvesting cocoa out of the pods, planting cocoa trees, and then making chocolate from bean to bar. Afterwards, they go through a tasting workshop to kind of understand the flavor dimension of chocolate and coffee, and then just have a ton of fun in the process. So our chocolate class is up and running, and that's something that you'll be able to find more about on the website really soon.
That's it. And, I was going to say, humanitarianism really seems to be like the pinnacle. And now I feel like education is right along with it for you, Jeff, and MOKA Origins. MOKAOrigins.com. Look across the top. Everything you need is there. The trips portion has me thinking, I wasn't planning on Uganda in 24, but it could be a thing. But everything you need is out there, folks. MOKAOrigins.com. And again, just such a great story. If you want to know more about, really what MOKA has been doing for humanity itself, look under the social impact header, and there's just so much out there that, you're going to feel good drinking that cup of coffee that you drink every morning. You're going to feel good eating that chocolate that you eat every day. Maybe everybody doesn't eat chocolate every day. I do. That's my problem, not yours. You're going to feel good about it, like front to back. So go out, check it out, MOKAOrigins.com. Couple more afters, Jeff, and I will let you loose. I am standing in your kitchen. You can pick professionally or at home. We're in MOKA, the MOKA lab, or at home, and you're in control of the music. What are we listening to?
Probably we're at home for sure, because I'm due to have you over for some vegetarian pop pie.
Nice.
And we're listening to probably Michael Franti.
Oh, perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
That's what's going on. Yep.
Love it. Deserted island question, which I have a feeling your answer might have changed now, given your change. You're going to be stranded on a deserted island. You can only take 3 foods or food type items with you. Inexhaustible supplies, but only 3. What would they be and why?
That's a good question. I think I'm definitely going to have, I'm going to have cheese. So,
absolutely.
That's going to be an obvious protein source right there. And the other ingredients are going to be we're going to do some Thai basil, because we're going to figure out a way to pull off some good Thai food.
Nice.
Yeah. And I think we're going to also have our cold brew, our RTD, our ready-to-drink cold brew cans. Those are going to be...
Look at that. Look at
recipe for success, yeah?
Shameless right there. You're like, I bring my cold brew cans with me. Awesome. Cheese, Thai basil, cold brew. I love it. Yeah. Finally, Jeff, you know the story. What is food to you in a single word, sir?
Culture.
Oh, love it. Love it. I don't think anybody else could pull that answer off quite as well as you, because I think everything you're doing with MOKA, and I mean this, whether you were here, whether this is on air or off air, I really do stand in awe of what MOKA has done, is doing, and will continue to do. So, sir, I know you're busy. I know you're just crazy schedule, but I really want to thank you for joining us here on the show again today.
Shawn, I appreciate having me back, and let's see if we can do episode maybe 293 in Uganda or something.
Oh, live from Africa. I love it. I'm going to write it down. Going to remember it for sure. Folks, if you want to check out MOKA, MOKAOrigins.com, Facebook, Insta, as mentioned. They're located at 952 Bethany Turnpike in Honesdale, PA 18431. 570-979-1010 for more information. Our producer, as always, today has been the lovely, voluptuous Johnny Leland Robinson, a.k.a. the Reverend Johnny Lamoria. Be sure to check out all his pirate libertarian happenings in the 18431 across all the social media. And our next episode, hey, we're still in Honesdale, kids. There's going to be another Honesdale staple coming up. You will not want to miss it. Stay tuned. Are you passing through central Pennsylvania and looking for one of the best dining experiences and craft brew menus around? Look no further. Turkey Hill Brewing Company and 991 Central Road in Bloomsburg, PA has everything you could ask for and then some. Service, food, beer together. Unbelievable. Be sure to check them out. Call them today for reservations. 570-387-8422. Call today.